Look at this one. I want to show people this photo of tyranny before I get into the child kidnapping rings run by the government. Where is that in my stack? I just had that. Oh, here it is. NAU precursor, EU police subdue sovereignty protesters. Peaceful protesters in Serbia are being forced off their land. I'm not taking sides here. I'm not, Serbian, folks. I'm not Croatian. I'm not Muslim. I don't have a dog in the fight. I've watched what's happened. And they're peacefully with flags, so they were tear gassed and rubber bulleted by NATO police saying no protest allowed. I want to show people these photos. This is up on prisonplanet.com. NAU precursor, EU police subdue sovereignty protesters. Just amazing to have that right there. Okay, let me get into this. I'm not going to spend all day on this, but I'm going to play the Cynthia McKinney clip. It's a long clip about trillions missing, and they say, we won't say where the money is. Dr. Chu won't tell you, Rumsfeld says, and the head of the guy that ran the Northcom stuff on 9/11, General Myers, is in there whitewashing and sucking on breath mints neurotically. It's all a big joke to him. And this is why they went after McKinney and put all that money against her to get her out of there, because she'd ask real questions. But it's not just McKinney saying this. I have BBC, AP, Chicago Tribune. Where DynCorp, Halliburton, all of them are caught running giant child kidnapping rings. And one day I saw cops out front of the DynCorp building here in Austin. I walked up and I said, that's DynCorp. They run child kidnapping rings. And they laughed at me and said, oh, I know, I'll work in that building sometimes. I'm like, they're all smiling. See, it's mental illness, folks. The whole country's evil. I'm telling you right now. We got to admit we've turned into a bunch of demons. This is just going to get worse. But every time we talk about, Obama says he's going to release hundreds of new photos. And you watch. It'll be people in clown outfits or people naked with dogs biting them. Sounds bad. Or a dead body or something. But they admit Congress has seen hundreds of videos, thousands of photos of them raping children, snuff films, you name it, under CIA orders, torturing people, torturing their children, things I can't mention on air. This man, General Tagumba, he's an American citizen, Filipino-American general, 3-star general. He was sent to do the report. He did a real report. And then General Tagumba got basically threatened as Ray McGovern's talked to him and talked about it. I need to get the general on sometime, but it's been hard to get him on, about how they threatened him. He said, well, this is the report. This is what happened. And because he said he couldn't be part of it. They were raping children with battery acid and just stuff out of Hellraiser, stuff out of Hostel. I haven't seen that movie, but I've heard it described. I mean, stuff worse than the worst Hollywood stuff you can imagine. And it says the general's report, how Antonio Tagumba, who investigated Abu Ghraib scandal, became one of its casualties. And they came after him. And they killed a bunch of people, too, in the military. Videos amplify pictures of violence. The raw story, Seymour Hersh reveals shocking new details of Abu Ghraib. Father, son forced to do acts together. Evidence for Hersh's claims of child sexual abuse at Abu Ghraib. You can just Google Cy Hersh, boys sodomized. You'll get AP, Reuters. Look, people keep emailing me saying this couldn't be true. I understand you committed to the neocons and committed to evil. And then because you did commit to evil, you feel like you've signed on to, let's get rough and waterboard them. It's, there's a clip up on Front Page Magazine, one of the neocon sites, where it's got this Marine Corps officer going, I love electrocuting people. I love all of it. I love torture. Oh, it's so good. And they're all giggling. And well, once you decide to torture people, why not rape children? And that's what they do. And then we're the bad people who don't want to have the government raping children. So here's Cynthia McKinney bringing all this up. And Rumsfeld we put them in a penalty box. DynCorp didn't get contracts for a few months. They're allowed to do it. Look, bitch, we got SWAT teams standing by to kill you. Yeah. Woo. That's basically the attitude. And I'm sorry to talk like that, but I'm trying to bring this home. This is pure evil right out in the open. Joseph Mengele stuff, and it's just Myers and Rumsfeld. They're just And just like they released the Abu Ghraib whitewashes when the raping was coming out from the Army reports, they put out stuff so Limbaugh got on air and said, they're just blowing off steam. They're just having some fun. Here it is.
I thank the gentleman, the gentlelady from Georgia, Ms. McKinney.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I watched President Bush deliver a moving speech at the United Nations in September 2003, in which he mentioned the crisis of the sex trade. The president called for the punishment of those involved in this horrible business. But at the very moment of that speech, DynCorp was exposed for having been involved in the buying and selling of young women and children. While all of this was going on, DynCorp kept the Pentagon contract to administer the smallpox and anthrax vaccines and is now working on a plague vaccine through the Joint Vaccine Acquisition Program. Mr. Secretary, is it policy of the U.S. government to reward companies that traffic in women and little girls? That's my first question. My second question, Mr. Secretary, according to the Comptroller General of the United States, there are serious financial management problems at the Pentagon, to which Mr. Cooper alluded. Fiscal year 1999, $2.3 trillion missing. Fiscal year 2000, $1.1 trillion missing. And DOD is the #1 reason why the government can't balance its checkbook. The Pentagon has claimed year after year that the reason it can't account for the money is because its computers don't communicate with each other. My second question, Mr. Secretary, is who has the contracts today to make those systems communicate with each other? How long have they had those contracts? And how much have the taxpayers paid for them? Finally, Mr. Secretary, after the last hearing, I thought that my office was promised a written response to my question regarding the 4 war games on September 11th. I have not yet received that response, but would like for you to respond to the questions that I've put to you today, and then I do expect the written response to my previous question, hopefully by the end of the week.
Thank you, Representative. First, the answer to your first question is no. Absolutely not. The policy of the United States government is clear, unambiguous, and opposed to the activities that you described. The second question.
Well, how do you explain the fact that DynCorp and its successor companies have received and continue to receive government contracts?
I would have to go and find the facts, but there are laws and rules and regulations with respect to government contracts, and there are times that corporations do things they should not do, in which case they tend to be suspended for some period. There are times then that under the laws and the rules and regulations passed by the Congress and implemented by the executive branch, that corporations can get off of out of the penalty box, if you will, and be permitted to engage in contracts with the government.
DynCorp involved in grabbing over 1 million people. Where they went, nobody knows. Don't like it? SWAT teams drop by.